Did I ever really think my husband was weak? Or did I just need someone to agree with me? How many times can a woman call her marriage boring before the word stops being a complaint and becomes a confession? I laughed at every joke my friends made about him, right up until the night he set his ring on the tablecloth and walked away. And I still believed, walking out to the parking lot after him, that I was the one who had been wronged. My name is Rachel Hartley. I am 32 years old, and I work the front desk at Steel Line Fitness, which is a job I have had for 4 years, and which I am good at in the way that you can be good at something and still feel like you are standing in the wrong room. I smile at the right moments, I remember members' names, I handle the difficult ones without losing my patience, and I come home every evening to a husband who means well. Tyler is 34 and works in logistics, which means he thinks about schedules and sequences and whether things are where they are supposed to be. He is not a bad person. He is consistent and careful, and he puts the pasta on when it is Tuesday, and he knows it is my late shift. I used to find that reliable. Somewhere in the last 2 years, I started finding it predictable, which sounds like the same thing but is not. That Tuesday evening, I was standing near the equipment storage room at the back of the gym when Derek, the senior fitness instructor, leaned against the doorframe the way he does and told me I had handled the difficult membership client better than anyone he had seen. The hallway smelled of pine disinfectant from the cleaning crew that had already come through, and a fluorescent light near the storage room door flickered on a pattern I had noticed before. Derek said I should have been a negotiator. I laughed. I told myself what I had been telling myself for about 6 weeks. This was just what it felt like to be noticed for a specific thing. I stayed 38 minutes past the end of my shift. When I got home, Tyler was on the living room couch. He had made pasta and kept it warm. He looked up and asked what time my shift ended, and when I said it had run long, he pointed out, without sharpness in his voice, that this was the third Tuesday it had run long. He mentioned my gym bag, which I had left in the front hallway instead of the mudroom where I always left it, and asked whether something had changed in the closing rotation. His question was specific and practical, and I told him that tracking my commute time was exactly the kind of surveillance that a secure husband did not do. I picked up my fork and ate standing at the counter. He said he was not accusing me of anything, and then he named what mattered to him practically. The Tuesday before, Zoe had waited 25 minutes in aftercare because the pickup timing broke down. He asked for honesty about the new schedule so he could adjust. I said he was using Zoe to construct guilt out of nothing. I went to the bathroom and did not come out until I heard him go upstairs. That night, while Tyler was in the shower, I changed my phone PIN. I told myself everyone was entitled to their privacy. The rooftop bar that Amber chose was exactly what she always chose: warm string lights, a view, cocktails that came in tall glasses with the ice already going soft. I arrived with Chloe and Amber was already at the far table with 2 others. Derek came later, in the way he always came to these things, as though the timing were coincidental. He sat across from me and said something that landed well, and the table laughed, and I remember thinking that this was the quality of evening I deserved more of. Amber took the group photo at 10 minutes past 10. She tagged the bar, she tagged me, and she posted it with everyone's names before I had even looked at my own phone. My wedding ring was not in the photo because I had taken it off earlier when it was digging in, and I had not put it back on before the flash went off. Tyler called at 18 minutes past 10. I showed the screen to Amber and she made the face she always made, the exasperated theatrical one that meant the table knew the call was from him. I declined it and texted that I was still at work, finishing up, that he should not wait up. I sent this text from the railing of the rooftop bar with the city below me and Derek 2 feet to my right. I got home at 20 minutes to midnight. Tyler was sitting on the small wooden bench at the top of the landing, outside the bedroom door. He was fully dressed and he had his phone in his hand, and he did not look the way someone looks when they are angry. He looked like someone who had been thinking for 3 hours and had arrived somewhere specific. He showed me his phone screen. The photo was there, Amber's post, the bar's name in the tag, the timestamp. He pointed at two things without raising his voice: the timestamp on the post and the fact that my ring was not on my hand in the photo. He asked me to explain in sequence how I had been finishing a work shift at 18 minutes past 10 when the geo-tagged photo placed me at a rooftop bar at 10 past. He named the ring as the micro-detail he wanted explained, not in an accusatory way, just as a concrete, observable fact. He asked when it had come off and when it had gone back on. I told him the photo was from earlier in the evening, that I had stopped in for one drink before my shift, that the ring was uncomfortable because of the heat. I said his interpretation of my evening was the interpretation of a man who checked his wife's tagged posts, looking for inconsistencies, and that my friends had noticed this behavior before, and that he was not the first person to call it controlling. I use the word controlling because it was the word that required him to defend himself rather than continue the original question. He did not defend himself. He said that was not the issue he was raising. He said the practical issue was Zoe, who woke at 9:30 with a nightmare and asked when her mother was coming home, and that he had told her soon without knowing whether it was true. He said simply that if she was going to be out past 10, he needed a truthful location. Not because of him, but because of the pickups and the nighttime routine and the fact that Zoe asked real questions. I told him he was using Zoe again. I walked into the bedroom and pulled the door most of the way closed. Later, I checked the photo again in the dark. I noticed for the first time that the bar's pendant lights were distinctive, that anyone who knew the place would recognize it from the background alone. I checked who had liked the post. One account that had liked it was a mutual connection I recognized from Tyler's office. I told myself it did not mean anything. I turned the screen off. The following morning I arrived at Steel Line Fitness, and Derek came by the front desk after his early class. He told me I looked great in that photo from the previous night. I told myself this was what I had been missing: attention to a specific thing rather than attention to a schedule. I did not ask myself in the same moment why Derek had never suggested meeting somewhere that required a reservation or a future. That Saturday, Amber sent the friend group a single message: Casa Portola, private room, Saturday the 14th, 28 plus 2. She meant a birthday dinner for me, 30 people, long table, champagne. I told Tyler he should come. I said it with a deliberate casualness that I designed to look generous, and somewhere in the design of that sentence was the awareness that the evening would be simpler without him. He said he would think about it. That night, his phone lit up on the nightstand at 10 minutes to midnight. He grabbed it before the second vibration, angled the screen toward the wall, and set the phone face down. I lay in the dark on my side and told myself he was just protecting his own privacy the way I protected mine. I almost believed it. Casa Portola's private dining room was exactly right. White linen pressed flat, 30 chairs around a long table, white roses in a low glass centerpiece bowl, tall champagne flutes lined up in a row the full length of the white cloth. I picked up the flute nearest my setting and felt, with my thumb along the rim, a hairline crack at the top, barely visible, catching light at one particular angle. I set it aside and took an unflawed glass. I was not going to let a small imperfection enter this evening. Tyler arrived with me. He wore the dark blue shirt from our second anniversary 4 years ago, and he made an easy effort with the people he did not know, shaking hands with Amber's partner, introducing himself to Chloe's friends with a genuine smile. He was trying. I found this irritating in a way I could not justify, so I translated it to neediness and moved on. Amber gave the toast midway through the third course. She stood and tapped her glass with a butter knife, and the table settled. She began warmly. She said I was the most alive person she knew, that I deserved everything I wanted and more. Tyler raised his champagne glass and participated. Then Amber shifted. She said in the theatrical voice she used for her best lines that great women sometimes made confusing choices in their 20s. She got a laugh on the pause. Then she looked directly at Tyler and said something about people in a room like this who were quietly understood to be placeholders. She said the phrase, life mistake, and she said it as a punchline directed at his presence, and she raised her glass to me. The table raised their glasses. There was laughter and soft applause. My hand went to my mouth. I was laughing. I knew somewhere in the middle of the laugh that this was visible. I kept laughing anyway. Tyler did not move for 3 full seconds. Then he set his champagne glass down, base touching the tablecloth without a sound, reached up with one hand, removed his wedding ring, and placed it on the white linen next to the cracked champagne flute that someone during the seating shuffle had moved back to his side of the table. He stood, straightened his shirt, and said clearly to no one in particular that he was stepping outside for some air. Chloe, directly across from him, watched this happen. Her face changed. She looked down at her plate. Amber's phone was still recording. I waited 2 minutes and went out through the side door. He was in the parking lot near his car, keys in his right hand. He did not look like a man who intended to yell. He asked, without raising his voice, why the joke required a room of 30 people. He named the specific geometry, Amber's direct eye contact with him as she delivered the line, the configuration of the long table which left him nowhere to look, and the fact that I had been facing the same direction and chosen to laugh. He asked what he was supposed to do in that moment: agree, applaud, or leave. He said any of those 3 choices would have ended the evening one way or another, and so he chose the one that required nothing from me. He mentioned the ring placement. He said he left it next to the cracked flute because it seemed accurate. He did not explain that further. I told him Amber was joking, that no one at that table meant it seriously, that he was the only person in the room who had taken it personally, and that this told me something. I used my friend's consensus as proof that he was alone in his interpretation. He looked at me for 5 seconds quietly and said he was going home to be with Zoe. He turned back once before getting in the car. He said without anger that the toast was not the entire problem. The problem was that she said it, and I laughed. He said that if I was willing to sit down in the next day or 2 and give him an honest explanation, not a defense, just the truth about how this had felt acceptable to me, he wanted to listen. He said he was not threatening anything. He was asking. I told him I did not owe him a review of my friendships and that he should drive safely. I went back inside. When I returned to the table, the ring was still on the white cloth. Amber had picked it up and was examining it with a theatrical expression of mock grief. She held it out when she saw me looking. I put it in my bag. I did not put it back on. At 11:17 that night, Amber posted the toast video to her public Instagram with the caption, Girls' Night Energy. She tagged the restaurant and 2 guests. The video was 47 seconds, and in it you could see the words, life mistake, the table's laughter, my hand at my mouth, the back of Tyler's head, and his ring coming off and being placed on the tablecloth. By midnight, it had 41 views. At 11:49, Chloe texted me and said she did not think the video should be up, and asked whether I could ask Amber to take it down. I replied that she should relax, that it was just a fun night. She did not respond. I did not know, going to sleep that night with Tyler already on his side of the bed and the ring still in my bag, that Chloe had screenshotted the video thumbnail, the post timestamp, and my text reply, and had saved all 3 to a folder on her phone. In the morning, I had one text from Tyler's sister Patrice. It said only, I saw the video. No greeting, no question, just those 3 words and silence. The morning after the birthday dinner, Tyler had Zoe's cereal all ready out and her bag packed. Zoe was at the table humming a cartoon song when I came downstairs, and she looked up when she heard my footsteps and told me, cheerfully, that Mama had said Daddy was a problem and the problem was not going away. She said it with no awareness of what she was delivering. She went back to her spoon. Tyler set his coffee mug down on the counter with both hands, slowly, and did not turn around for a moment. When he did, his face was the particular controlled expression I had begun to associate with a decision being made. He crouched down to Zoe's level, told her gently that she did not need to carry grown-up words, said he loved her, and left for work without looking at me. The door closed normally. The kitchen was completely quiet. That evening, I went to Patrice's apartment on the basis of a message about a casserole pot she had borrowed. There was no pot. She had made tea and there were 2 cups on the table when I arrived, which told me everything about the purpose of the visit before she said a word. She told me she had watched the birthday video 3 times. She described what she saw in sequence, naming each element: the toast, the laughter, the exact moment Tyler placed his ring on the tablecloth, the cracked flute beside it. She asked me one question. What word would I use to describe my own expression in that specific moment? This was when I shifted. I heard the question land, and I understood, correctly, that mockery was not going to work in Patrice's apartment. So I used a different approach. I told her, in a quieter voice, that I understood how the video looked from the outside. I admitted in a carefully measured way that I probably should have said something to Amber to soften the toast. I said Tyler and I had been going through a difficult stretch and that I genuinely wanted to work on our communication, and I offered something concrete. A family conversation, the 3 of us, transparent and without agenda, just an honest talk. I used the word communicate twice. Patrice did not accept this immediately. She asked whether I had told Tyler directly, in private, that I was sorry for what happened at the birthday dinner. I said I planned to. She noted the pause before the word planned and said nothing further about it, which was more uncomfortable than any direct response would have been. I went home with the strategy intact. I sat next to Tyler on the living room couch and used the careful, gentle voice and told him I knew the birthday dinner had been hard and that I wanted to be more of a team, that I had been thinking about how we communicated. He listened to all of it without interrupting. Then he asked one question. Was I talking about communication in general, or was I willing to specifically discuss the birthday toast, the ring left on the table, and who Derek Osei was? He said the name without drama. He said he had cross-referenced tagged photos, the gym's public schedule, and the username connected to the rooftop post, and that Derek appeared in the parking lot video she had posted the previous Thursday, as well as in the background of the rooftop footage from the night she had texted him she was still at work. My careful voice collapsed in about 4 seconds. I told him he had investigated my friendships like a private detective, that this was the definition of controlling behavior, that I was offended he had used a screenshot from Chloe as an excuse to build a list of my co-workers. I left the room. He said nothing as I went. I told myself I was furious because he had violated my trust. I did not say anything about what his naming Derek had confirmed without my intending to confirm it. 2 days later, Chloe texted me and said she had been thinking about the toast and that she was not sure it had been funny and that she hoped Tyler and I could work things out because Tyler was a good person. I told her she was letting internet opinion shape her view of a private situation. She did not argue back. She screenshotted the exchange and saved it. I called my mother and told her the version I could defend. Tyler had overreacted to a birthday toast that was a little sharp but harmless. He had walked out. Now he was being cold and difficult, and I was trying to reach him, but he was not engaging. My mother listened and then asked what the toast had actually said. When I told her, she was quiet for a moment and said, gently, that she did not think life mistake was something a wife should be laughing at when it was pointed at her husband. She said she was not taking sides. She was being honest because that was what mothers were for. I told her I could not believe she was siding with this. She said she was observing, not siding, and the call ended shortly after. That evening I walked past the study. The door was open a crack. Tyler was at the desk with his back to me, a slim binder and a small stack of papers visible on the surface, and his laptop had 2 browser tabs open. From the doorway angle, I could only make out part of the left tab, the words storage unit and availability. He heard my footsteps and closed the laptop with one hand, turned, and said in a friendly, unbothered voice that he was just catching up on some organising. I asked what he was looking up. He said it was nothing complicated. He smiled briefly. The next morning, I went to the kitchen junk drawer to find a parking ticket I had set aside. The drawer opened differently than it had before. Tyler's wallet was gone, his spare car keys were gone, and the car registration folder that had lived in that drawer since we moved in was gone. There was a tube of hand cream and a takeaway menu in their place. I asked him, while he was making Zoe's school lunch, where he had moved those things. He said, without looking up from the bread he was spreading, that he had needed counter space and reorganized. He said this in a completely pleasant voice and kept making the sandwich. There was nothing in his tone to push back against, and that was precisely what disturbed me. On a Thursday midday, I came out of my shift at Steel Line Fitness, feeling the particular lightness that I associated with Derek saying something that landed well. He walked me to the parking lot the way he did a few times a week, a small ritual we both treated as incidental. I picked up my phone and did what I always did when I felt that way. I recorded a short video. I was smiling, my hair was down, the gym entrance was visible behind me. I wrote the caption quickly, living my best single girl life, and posted it to my public profile, tagged the gym's location. Derek was at the edge of the frame, blurred but present. I told myself the caption was a vibe, not a statement. Chloe saw the post at 2:02 during her lunch break. She had been watching my public profile since the birthday dinner, with the particular attention of someone who has been deciding something. She screenshotted the full screen immediately. The original caption, the timestamp of 1:43 in the afternoon, and the geotagged location. Then she found Tyler in her contacts and sent the screenshot with one message, which said she thought he should see it and that she was sorry she had not said something sooner. 14 days after posting, I edited the caption to "Best Mood Today" and removed the gym tag. By then, the screenshot already existed with the original text and timestamp intact. Tyler was at his desk at Bridgepoint Freight Solutions when his phone buzzed. He read Chloe's message and the screenshot. His expression shifted in the way something shifts when a weight reaches the bottom of a steel container. He went to the men's room for 4 minutes. He came back and finished a delivery report. Joel Park was at the adjacent desk and noticed the change in his posture when the phone went off. He did not ask. On the way out at the end of the day, he asked Tyler if he was all right. Tyler thanked him for asking. Joel nodded and left it there. Over the previous 3 weeks, I had noticed a recurring calendar entry on the shared calendar Tyler used. Community Center, 6 p.m. Wednesday. 3 consecutive Wednesdays. I asked him about it while he was plating Zoe's dinner. He said it was a meeting he found useful. I asked what kind of meeting. He said a support kind. I waited for more. He called Zoe to the table. That Wednesday evening, he came home from the community center. I was on the porch when he came up the path, ending a call with Amber. He sat on the porch steps near the potted lavender I had bought the previous spring, which had gone slightly overgrown. He set his bag down beside the step and looked toward the street for a moment. Then he began. He named 3 specific events in sequence: the ledge and lime photo, with its timestamp versus my text at 18 minutes past 10, the birthday toast and the ring, and the parking lot post with its original caption. He presented them without accusation, as a sequence of things he had now seen. He asked the most direct question he had asked in the entire 5 months. Knowing that he had seen all 3, what did I want the marriage to look like going forward? Not whether I loved him, not whether I was sorry. What did I want it to be? He mentioned one detail specifically. He said the original caption had used the phrase single girl life, and that he had seen it with the timestamp. He said he was not asking in anger. He said he wanted to know. I told him he was catastrophizing a social media caption, that single girl life was a tone, an expression of a mood, not a declaration of anything. I told him the real problem was that he monitored my public posts, the way a parent monitors a teenager, and that I did not need his interpretation of my social media voice as commentary on my marriage. I got up and went inside. I left the front door open. He did not follow me. He stayed on the porch steps and spoke toward the screen door, and I paused in the doorway and heard him. He said he had tried to have this conversation in multiple ways across several months, and that each time I had ended it. He said he would not keep chasing a conversation I did not want. He said he would handle things properly and calmly. And then he said the one final personal line. He said he would not continue raising Zoe in a household where her mother laughed at her father in front of an audience of 30 people. His voice had no heat in it. That was what made it different. I locked the screen door and went upstairs. I lay in bed and told myself handle things properly was a bluff from someone who would not follow through. But the study door was locked again by 11:30, and when I came down for water, I stood in the hallway and tried the handle. On one of my recent glances into the study, I had seen a sticky note on the binder cover that said, "Bring forms, Thursday." I did not know which Thursday. I told myself it was work paperwork. That night, scrolling without a clear purpose, I noticed that Chloe had removed me from her close friends list on Instagram. No message, no explanation. I started to type, "Did I do something?" and stopped. I put the phone face down and left it there. Thursday morning, Tyler was dressed and out the door before I woke. Zoe's bag was packed and by the door. A note on the counter gave the school schedule for the week and one line. Pickup covered Thursday. Clean handwriting, no signature, nothing to push back against. I read it 3 times. Thursday noon, the sky was white rather than grey, the kind that flattens all the shadows. I woke up with what felt like clarity and decided to act simply and directly. I would bring Tyler 2 sandwiches from the cafe on Meridian Street, the one where we used to go before Zoe was born. I would walk in and be human. I told myself this was reaching out. I arrived at Bridgepoint Freight Solutions at 4 minutes past 12. The lobby had a polished floor and a low hum of climate control and a check-in desk with 2 receptionists. A group of colleagues in business casual clothing came through the revolving door behind me, lanyards swinging, 5 of them back from a morning off-site. Joel Park was among them. He saw me before I saw him. He stopped briefly and then kept moving, but his eyes were alert. A man in a plain grey jacket was standing near the elevator bank. I had registered him as a visitor waiting, which was exactly what he had intended. He said my full name, both names. He confirmed my date of birth and my home address. I answered both without thinking. He held out a thin envelope. Tyler was standing 8 feet away near the check-in desk. He did not move. Inside the envelope was the divorce petition with temporary financial and property orders. The cover page named the parties and gave a first hearing date. Attached behind it was a reference sheet, the ledge and lime timestamp mismatch, the birthday toast video metadata, the parking lot screenshot from 1:43 p.m. with its original caption, a dated record of Zoe's phrase at the breakfast table, and a 5-entry dialogue log with dates, locations, and what each attempt had produced. The last entry was from the front porch. The note said that following a final communication attempt, she had been informed the matter would be handled properly. I told Tyler he could not do this here, that the evidence list was out of context, that Chloe had no right to send anything. I said the birthday toast was a joke and every person in that room knew it. I said the caption was a mood. He said, at normal speaking volume, that the filing had been reviewed by his legal counsel and the index was part of the public record. His voice did not rise and he did not take a step toward me. I said I was sorry. I said the word directly, and for the first time. I said I would go to counselling, that I knew things had been hard, that I was sorry. The word landed in the lobby in front of Joel Park, and 2 receptionists, and 3 colleagues just back from their morning meeting. None of them responded to it. Joel looked at the floor. Tyler said gently that this was not a conversation he could have here, that the petition included a first hearing date, and that his legal counsel would be in contact with her regarding next steps. Then he turned and walked through the turnstile. The automatic glass door swung closed behind him. On the lobby side, the glass reflected me, the open envelope in both hands, my hair slightly undone from the walk, the paper bag with 2 sandwiches on the polished floor at my feet. 3 people walked between me and the glass, and the reflection was gone. I was just standing in a lobby. It was not the confidence that destroyed me in the end, though I had been certain it would protect me. It was the fact that everything I did with the greatest confidence, the photo, the video, the caption, the laugh at the birthday table, I did publicly, because I believed that audiences were on my side. I believed this so completely that the thought of an audience becoming a witness never crossed my mind. The cracked champagne flute was still on the tablecloth when I went back inside that night. I had set it aside at the start of the evening because I wanted the unflawed glass. Tyler put his ring down next to the one I had discarded. I did not understand until the lobby that choosing the perfect glass while leaving the broken one in plain sight was not a small detail. It was the whole record. Closure snapshot. The first hearing was confirmed for 6 weeks after the lobby. Temporary orders kept the marital home's use with Tyler during proceedings. Rachel received a 7-day notice to arrange her belongings with a neutral third party. Zoe's interim custody gave Tyler primary weekdays and Rachel weekends, with handoffs at the school gate. Amber archived the birthday toast video on the 31st day after posting with no comment, then removed Rachel from the friend group chat without explanation 2 days after that. Chloe did not respond to any messages. Derek texted once 12 days later to say he thought they should take some space, and then went quiet. Rachel moved the last of her boxes into a studio apartment on the 14th of the month. The kitchen wall was a pale yellow she had not chosen. 10 days after the lobby, she sent Tyler 3 paragraphs asking to talk. He replied with 1 sentence directing all communication to his legal counsel. She typed 2 replies and deleted both. The paper bag with the Meridian Street sandwiches sat on the polished lobby floor for a long time before anyone moved it.